How do you also feel about the Shay Heart looking down picture? Because I have a couple of things to talk about in this regard, but I want to know you guys' thoughts. It feels interesting. You're more curious on when to see this. You just wondering how he got the eye of time. We're gonna get to that. I got something to say about that. The first thing is, let's talk about Shay looking down, because no, we don't get much of a background. There's not much to dissect from the naked eye. If you know me, if you've seen my videos, you know I can stretch 2 inches to a mile. So let's discuss the Shay looking down stuff. I know you said because it's a lot interesting because he's damaged. So now look, obviously this takes place after he gets the eye of time. What's noteworthy is the color palette that Brent chose for the Helios eye, because we know Shay's eye color has changed throughout the entirety of the series, reflecting his rage, his anger, from brown to orange to a light orange with a red outline. Now this eye is the same color that we see with the next topic, which is the Masato topic, which means this could essentially take place after, like directly after he gets the eye of time. This shot right here specifically over the sun showing that Shay just arrived. So it could go 2 ways. It's either A, takes place directly after he gets the eye of time and he leaves where Masato is sealed at, and this is Brent showing us the moment he gets the eye of time, or B, someone is looking for Shay and they found him. And the reason is because he doesn't have the Elder's Mantle on. In the future with Ronin, the Elder's Mantle is a shoulder cape. It's not the full-on cape that we see in season 3, and this is the shoulder that the cape is usually on because it's lashed under, or the golden armor right here. And so this is what Brent uses typically as a surprise shot panel, and this reflects what we see with Shay in season 3, specifically season 3 episode 113. So let's pull it up. We're not paying attention, okay? We're not paying attention to how he looks. We're paying attention to the angling. Who do you think he fighting that scene? Don't worry, Dojo. Don't. Your boy got the notes. Your boy got the notes today. So look, it's reflective of this panel. The sun beaming down. Shay is. They located Shay, and then we have a downward angle panel, or the focal point for the emphasis of the shot. The Shay is represented by the sun. You always have to have the sun behind Shay because it's a representation of not only his power, and you can also see that as the sun being the reason that Shay is growing through Helios. Now, I want to talk about the battle damage that Shay has, because this Shay is a lot harder in regards to his efficiency at rock armor than he was with the Jose fight. Now, during the Jose fight, Shay essentially damaged himself. This is the how heavy is your hand chapter. So none of this damaged Shay. Nothing when he fought late damaged Shay, meaning anything Titan General below is not scratching Shay. No scratches. Even when he already blew Shay up multiple times. This is Titan Captain level. This is not where he goes to the Gaki form, or Gaki adjacent, I should say. Nothing that is quantified by the heaviness of Jose's chi is able to break Shay's rock armor. So essentially, in this battle, the aftershock of Sun through Moon damaged Shay, and rock armor is counted by pinpointed accuracy, or pinpointed strikes. So as they cover, so think of like Hunter x Hunter, how they use their defensive nin, where when they cover one portion of their body with so much nin, the other portion of their body gets weaker. It's that concept. So when they cover the entire portion of their body in chi and spell it out, that's a generalized use of chi. So when something more compact and powerful is focused into one spot, then all of that pressure forces the armor to break and it's pierced. Which means this Shay, who has 7 more years of experience, and we see how far he got in 9 months, got damaged. And we see it's a cut right here, cut right there, and little scratches and marks. Keep in mind, if we're assuming that this is right when he got the Eye of Time, right directly after, this would imply that Shay went somewhere that most people didn't gain access to, or have access to, implying that this is information that K.O.D.E provided to him during their conversation at the end of season 3, leading me to assume that he fought Masato hard. Biggest guess? For sure. That's why I didn't say anything, Clef. You should have known. And the reason why I say that is because, one, the Eye of Time has a huge strain on its wearer. We see with Masato heart in episode 113, the strain in veins around his eyes. He uses the ability, and then the same veins are gone, which means the veins that was stressing towards his eyes, those blood vessels ruptured. So it's a huge strain to use the Eye of Time. You're trading your health for the ability to manipulate time. And the reason I say you're trading your health is the way I'm looking at it is it could be a trade-off, because you need to have a trade-off for a power like this. It could be a trade-off where the same time that you're manipulating inside of the orb, at the same time you are losing outside the orb. So when he pops the orb, he crashes. It seemed instantaneous, but with the amount of slashes it took to stop Mato Hagan. Ordeal is about the art as well as it is about the story. If you notice that all of these are pinpointed, accurate slashes, and so when he dies, we even see that time has to essentially catch up to the phenomenon. So when he dies, you see the eyeball get cut. He essentially gets cut into bits. And Masato wasn't directly in front of him. Like, you can say, yes, he was directly in front of him, but by directly in front of him, I mean he's not spaced right here by his Mato Hagan's hand. He's not directly in front of him. So the strain is relative to either A, how big the essential circumference of the area that he's covering, B, how long he is using it as well. Because one slash, it wouldn't be enough. And the fact that Mato Hagan bird or familiar was slashed as well shows the connection to that bird and absorbing talent. So maybe the more elements that he absorbed or store, or the more talent that he stored after killing somebody, results in the bird getting bigger. And it also reflects kind of the Mayan ritual where they was sacrificing to their gods, which also fits with the theme of their character. And so another reason I say is linked to his health, because you can say, let's say 12 years later, because I want to give grades, because I know Sabido at the time when we first see him is about 10 years old. Ross seemingly didn't age. The only thing Ross did was cut his beard. Let's go back. So we're going to use these to show the effects of time on both of them. So now look, Ross looks relatively older in this scene, right? But all he did was literally shave his beard. So within 12 years, Adam didn't really change much. However, when we look at the difference between Masato and even Leo, Masato, he looks a lot older. Even the blue from his eyes faded. And you can kind of test that to the transitioning of Brent art style and then an increasing quality of the color palette that Brent uses and his understanding of that palette while complementing his art style. But the blue is still a lot different. It looks cloudy. So it seems that in those 12 years, Masato has aged quicker than everyone around him, at least looks wise. And so maybe trading the talent, the eye of time, and using the ability to manipulate time is what's causing him to age a lot faster. That also makes sense to why, back to what we're here for, you feel me? Shay is damaged as well. If this is 7 years in the future, no one without any proper experience is going to be able to damage Shay unless he's caught off guard. And I don't think that this is a caught off guard situation. We even see that he has a bit of blood on the collar itself. And the fact that he doesn't have the Elder's Mantle on shows that Thanatos' chi is leaking out. So essentially, after that moment, whether he kills or he gets the eye of time from Masato, whatever happens in that moment affected Shay so much that Brent essentially took the background away. So this is a shocking scene. It's no longer anger in his eyes. It's more of him being disconnected or pity. And when we take a look into Shay's character, for example, when the Ross family uses the ordained judgment seal, they told him that the sacrifice of one friend is enough to keep everyone alive, so do it again. And all of that was out of anger. This Shay is so disconnected that the same thing that we was ridiculing Rokaz for, the same thing that we was ridiculing Bayal for, the same thing was ridiculing Thanatos for, which is them not valuing the human life and Kimyo life and peace around them and causing so much death and destruction to achieve their goal is the same thing this Shay is going to do. And so the only person who's able to actually give Shay or break Shay's rock armor right now will be someone relative to the god tier. So a cut right here, a cut on the lip, and multiple bruises and lacerations will make me assume that that's Masato Heart. And this is directly after that. It seems that Shay is going to continue the theme that we see back in the last or the season finale. Granted, I didn't get to that in my reviews. Hey man, I'm saying that 149 coming soon because I just finished the audio not too long ago, so I'm gonna be doing the visual soon. But Shay has disconnected from everything, and he only keeps his true thoughts to himself. And it was only a few breaking points, whether it was when Lewis died and we see him explode in just rage, or during Lewis' funeral where he couldn't be around his family due to how dangerous he is when he's in this emotional state. And keep in mind, when they're emotional, they really can't control their chi to that degree. Like we see with Kevin, how his chi was leaking out to the point where it was about to harm humans just due to his own grief. And so when we see that with Shay, or when Shay witnessed that with it'll be safer that he was further away, because even Andrea and Tevin said that they can see they can feel Shay watching them, and you can say, yeah, it's just a sensation, just a feeling, but again, these are basically the most adept Kimyos in the world. So being able to sense chi while he's trying to keep it composed makes the most sense. Now there is something else I want to talk about, but before I continue on, how do you guys feel about this image right here? What do you guys feel like this takes place specifically? How do you guys feel like this takes place? Because the where and the what is just as important as the how. So shout out, bro, predicting him to be alive. But I kind of want to talk about how Shay finds him, because we see even in the background that everything is blurred out. But if you see the reflection on the katana and the shine from it is that of the sun, while behind Shay is probably a wall, right? The colors being used right here, reflecting that Shay opened something in order to find Masato. And if you look closer, we see that Shay is also not wearing the elder's mantle. If you look at the eye color, we also see that Shay had the same eye palette and clothing. What I really like, the Heart Clan's earrings is reflecting in both images, right? Not this one, but the Masato heart. We see the earrings prominent in both the sword reflection and Masato. Small detail, but detail nonetheless, because how Shay got his is that it's a remnant of his father, the only thing that they found of him. Masato is pretty much the leader of the clan. In this image, Shay's not battle damaged. He's actually wearing the eye patch, which means this is essentially before this takes place. Obvious, because of the eye, right? But what's important is these shoulder pads. I always thought Shay had these shoulder pads as a reference to Rokash, but if this is a reference to the Heart Clan's earrings, and it symbolizes something for the Heart Clan, maybe like a protector. But I thought it was fascinating that the earrings and the material for the gold are the same color, because we see he's changing up the gold to like a blackish off tint to it. But these two shades are inherently different. If you look at the eye color, right, the rage in his eye and the reflection of the sword and the disconnectedness, which means some information was told to him before he got in the Eye of Time. And then if you take into account the appearance of Shay as well, is that he doesn't have the Elder's Mantle, which means his Thanatos chi is going wild, but he's also in this moment donning the mask that is a callback that Brent said in reference to Thanatos. And so if Masato Heart is going through constant blood ruptures right through his eye because of the Eye of Time, or utilizing it, and his other eye may not be as good anymore due to old age, he could have essentially mistaken Shay for Thanatos, because he's already exuding the chi of Thanatos, and he's also has a mask reminiscent of a skull, which could be mistaken for something else, or Thanatos himself. So he has the components, and due to him being old, he could still essentially do it. Now, one thing I would love is, it depends on how they do the sealing on the cave. Now, the sealing on the cave could go two ways. The first one is that the Heart Clan has their own seal developed, similar to the Cyclops seal, where it can only be removed by another Heart Clan member. And so the Heart Clan being essentially destroyed and Masato essentially sealing himself here would mean that this will be his tomb, because all the other clan members are gone, at least by his interpretation of the events that happened. Now, how Shay finds it could be through Kagaya, through the end of season 3, tells him about exactly what happened during the massacre, and that gives Shay a clue to how to find the Eye of Time without exactly helping Shay directly. Now, if it's a Heart Clan seal and Shay be able to undo it through his bloodline, that'll add on to the lore of the Heart Clan. What I would love in regards to the scaling, and also in regards to the time crunch and feat displayed by the Eye of Time, is that Masato sealed himself in time, and so to reduce the stress on his eyes, he has the blindfold on. And so essentially when Shay opens up whatever is sealing Masato inside, he's not breaking the seal, but is entering a place of stagnant time. Because if the time is supposed to be adjusted inside the orb or the bubble from the Eye of Time, then essentially all the time that Masato was sealed, keeping himself alive for some reason, maybe it is to allow the next leader to inherit the Eye of Time, because we know that Sabito has the obligation to pass on the talent. His family was aware, but he didn't want to go to his family, put them in danger, so he went to a hideout that his family had control of or knew about. And so when we think about the mold, right, in Ordeal, we think about Hebihundro. For Bayal to get the ups on Sabito, that will mean when Sabito took his leave of absence, he told Ross, or he told Leo, and Leo told Ross. However, With the way the relationship with the seven-headed lion worked, Ross entrusted that information also to the seven-headed lion because he said he never looked at the mole at the table. He always looked below the table, which means they was trusted with such information. Tanjiro to let Val know is going into hiding, which would lead at some point for Gaia to interfere and let Val know the possible hideout to allow Crowler and other Kimyos to stake out. Because when Sabito engaged with everybody, he activated the Eden Fortress. He walked out of it. He walked out of the Eden's Fortress from Bayal's position to stand directly in front of him, showing that Bayal was watching the entirety of the events take place, meaning that they already had a plan to ambush Sabito due to the information provided by the mole. However, even with all of that being said, not only if we're saying Kagaya's devil agent, not only would that mean Kagaya misdirected Val to protect something that he felt was even more important than Hasame, which is the Eye of Time. Now, everything needs to run on chi, right? We do have aspects of the power system where a talent object can take the talent of somebody. We know that's not the case for the Eye of Time. It doesn't consume or replace the other talent, like with Heimdall and Tobiasen. But if it's a seal, it will mean that Masato will have to replenish as much chi as he's using for that seal, if it's an Eye of Time seal. And that would keep him stagnant in time until the eye is taken or given to the next person. And it'll also allow Brent to do exposition for not only the Heart Clan, but how the Heart Clan is affecting Shay, and also a little bit more detail into the Malhazar situation and how he was able to create a clan, and he could kind of fill that plot hole with that. And then ultimately him being alive, although he was a lot older when Sabito was younger, and it's taking place 20 years after Sabito was what, 30? 40 is an anomaly in of itself. So a time seal based off the Eye of Time will kind of mitigate that. And then once that the Eye of Time is transplanted or taken out, it breaks the seal, and all of the time that Masato was basically hiding from or neglecting all hits him at once, and he dies in that moment. So that will make this picture make more sense. If he watched his grandfather just die to give him a new power, I could see why his angry expression will go to one of sadness and being disconnected. This expression only actually gets a lot sadder when we see him initially back in episode 34. Yeah, 34. When we see Future Shay in that one, and then also in episode 45. This expression that he holds in the left image only gets weaker. Let me see if I can bring it up for you guys. In this episode, we see Ronin, but if you look at the color of Shay's eyes, it's not the same color that it is now. And I think that's why Brent emphasized the color of Shay's eyes. Up to this point, Shay's eyes return to normal. He's found peace again. To some capacity, he's found peace in what he has to do and what he's doing. And this is what I mean by he doesn't have the Elder Mantle on. This takes place after the conversation with Masato. If my theory is correct, he had the Elder Mantle on right here, but he has the gi or the clothing that we see in the Masato sword reflection. But his expression is different. His expression is filled with more with purpose. But when he's looking on to others, this is what I mean by the softness of sadness. Feel me? How his eyes is going softer as he's getting saddened by what he's experienced, how other Kimyos are experiencing being ridiculed against or even being subjugated, feel me, in today's current world. And so this is not the same expression, this is not the same, this is the same outfit, but again, he's battle damaged than the other one, so which means that outfit is a lot more new, and his disconnectedness is different as well. And his disconnectedness isn't the same because he even lost his iris in this photo versus him having it, versus him having that focus like we see in the other photo. And all that comes from Jay encounter with his grandfather, because when he learns about his father in the earlier episode, not earlier episode, but in season 2, just him finding out about the event, we see that it starts to affect Shay's chi. They even had to stop the whole story because of the way that Shay was acting. So getting another event from his actual grandfather, I can see that softening the anger of Shay, but also deepening his purpose as well. So how do you guys feel about the what's been said so far? You feel me? Agree, disagree, emotional outbursts, you feel me?